night.
Yes, this all started, what, are we in year 4? We were in year 4 as it is. I mean, he's here. I remember producing the show in which he got hired. I was in bed. And then, of course, news comes across the wire. It's like, should we do a show? Absolutely. And we all thought, there was far-reaching. Who could it be? Is it Lane Kiffin? Is it our boy Billy?
Right.
Then is it
Lincoln Riley?
Lincoln Riley? And it's like, oh, it feels like everybody's running with Lincoln Riley. Then it comes down to Billy. It's Brian Kelly. And then you go, my initial reaction was this is never going to work. Like, there's not a single person on the planet that likes him. He's coming to the most maybe likable university. And then Jordy was there to talk me off the ledge. But I was like, this is not going to work. Like, there's just not a world in which he can make it work at LSU. But he's like, no, you need an adult in the room. And I was like, I can see that. I can see why the hire was made, and I trust Scott Woodward to be able to make the right hire. Right. But I was like, in my gut, I couldn't feel it working here. And then he does, from day one, it was right in front of you who that man was, what he was coming here to do. And I can see, if you put it on paper, if you're Woodward, you go, okay, I have to pay him this X amount of money to be able to get him here. And if he has any nuts about himself, or he cares one fucking iota about himself, which he does, he has one thing left to do. I can't climb the mountain at Notre Dame, but I can climb the mountain at LSU because I need better players. And to his credit, year 1, that's how it works. That's how grifters work. You work for 1 year and you ride it out for the rest after you say, look what I can do. Look at how I can do it. And then he got people on his side. There was. SEC championship appearance year 1. Whoa. With that roster, 35 players. You have them in the booth. And then it's only started going. You start whittle away and looking at, what do you actually do here? Right. And it became, it's not me, it's the defense. Oh, it's not me, it's special teams. Oh, let me fire this guy. Let me move this guy over here. At some point, there's only so many squares on a chessboard, and you backed him into a corner, and it's finally knock the piece over, checkmate. See ya, buddy. Yeah. Because this is a long time coming. It was never going to work here. It never did. And I'm just happy to see that LSU had the unmitigated gall and the nuts to stand up for what LSU actually is, what this university means. And to have that scene on Saturday night, as bad as it was, thank you, Texas A&M. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was the wake-up call that was necessary because damage had been done to the LSU football program. It had become something under Brian Kelly that it's never been before. It was a place where Death Valley, you could come in and your fan base, your students could take over the LSU football student section, and the loudest the stadium can get is when the Texas A&M team is going over to their side of the field and hyping their fans up. They walked in, they dominated on a Saturday night in Death Valley on the field and in the stadium. You travel to Nashville and you get pushed around and punched in the mouth by Vanderbilt. And then Vandy goes and puts a sign in front of the media room that says, what? Be prepared, warning, caution, loud screams, banging on tables, this, that.
You became a laughing stock.
You became a laughing stock, something LSU has never been, even with coaches that were cartoon characters. If LSU was ever going to be a laughing stock, you'd think it'd be with the guy that you needed subtitles to understand, or the coach that ate grass. But no, they could still get teams that were physical and would go punch somebody in the mouth. Lamine Barrow said it yesterday. LSU is either going to beat you or beat you up, was the mindset they had. And that's not what LSU was under Brian Kelly. It was 1,000% the move that had to be made, because had it continued on, only more and more damage could be done to the LSU football brand. And credit to the powers that be, all the people in the room, because there's a lot of people in the room, whether it's boosters, whether it's the governor, the AD, the board supervisor, the powers that be to make the move because it had to happen. And it moved quick. The conversation Saturday night after the game was still that changes are going to be made, but I don't know if it'll be that one. Then yesterday morning it gets to, well, they're going to see if they can put together the money, but it'll still be other changes that'll come. And then throughout the day, it just like that. No, this is what has to happen. And it happened. Brian Kelly is out as the LSU football head coach. And when I look at this tenure as a whole, right, the 3.5 years that it's been, look, with Lloyd, I was moved to the side when he first got here of, you know what, this actually does make sense. You needed somebody buttoned up that could build the program back. And in his credit, he did that for a year. He got LSU back to a competitive 10-win football program after what it had fallen to under O. In year number 1, you hit on some portal guys. You have Mike Denbrock as your OC. You're able to beat Alabama in Death Valley in what is one of my favorite games ever and make it an SEC championship appearance.
And that was your high water mark.
And that was the high point. That was the peak of the tenure, because the next year, and because after that, I was like, you know what? Come on. It can only go up from here. Nope. It went down from there. You then squander one of the greatest Heisman quarterback seasons and offensive seasons ever because you had to hire your guys. And then that rolls into the next season where you just don't have the roster to really even compete, into this year where you spend $18 million and exhaust all options. Can talent win in spite of Brian Kelly? And it can't. And the move had to be made. You could not allow the damage to the LSU brand to continue, because that's the point you were at, where the LSU brand, the LSU football brand itself, was being damaged. You know the reason I know that for a fact is because guys that put the uniform on and laid it out on the football field were the ones saying it. We had Jeremy Lawrence and Rohan Davey on yesterday. If you didn't see that, go back and watch it. Look at the look in their eyes when they're talking about Brian Kelly and his tenure at LSU. They are disgusted and embarrassed by what the program had become.
And it's not just them.
No, it's Braden Fajoko, it's Leonard Fournette, it's Brandon. Go down the list of the players that played for LSU that were on social media talking about
Malik.
what this program had become. And one of the things that tells you more than anything is the reaction that some of the players have had on social media after the fact.
That played for him.
Malik Neighbors posted the same video I put out that Braden Swinson posted after Matt House was fired, telling him to kick rocks.
Bitch.
Trey Holly makes a comment on Twitter about karma. Like it was time for this man to go. And to Lloyd's point, it was never going to work. And we should have recognized it the second that man got here and disrespected LSU from the jump. When you think that you're bigger than the program and you can bring in Brian Polian and Matt House and you can kick Corey Raymond and Blake Baker and Austin Thomas and these guys to the curb. Tommy Moffitt, maybe one of the bigger examples of it because of what you saw on Saturday night. Just kick these guys to the curb, guys that built LSU and have been a part of LSU. And then guess what you had to do 2 years later?
Go back and get them.
Go back and get them. You had to bring Blake Baker and Corey Raymond and Austin Thomas back. And that's what shows you right there that no one is bigger than LSU football. He thought when he saw this job, he came here with the mindset of, what can LSU do for me, Brian Kelly? How can Brian Kelly use LSU to his advantage? That it was going to be a cakewalk. That if he showed up here with the same status quo of what he had at Notre Dame, his 35 years of coaching experience that you hear ad nauseum about would be able to win him a national championship because he can get better players.
I haven't gotten all my wins yet. When you go back and watch that introduction of him at the PMAC, and you just hear it, how deeply coded he was for I get. At what planet do you have the idea of I'm going to throw on a Southern accent, talk to these people as if they're beneath me, and have some sort of rah-rah speech about me? And it never once felt like he was talking about the university. And Michael Koppel talked about, and if anybody's having more, we're doing a do-si-do two-step on the grave today, me and Koppel, and deservedly so, because that's where it started to spiral. There's so many like watermark moments or watershed moments of where this is not going to work. And from day one, he belittled you, looked at you as lesser than, came in and thought, This is just a means to an end for me. I'll be able to get a national championship, get the fuck out of here.
Thought he was bigger than the program.
Thought he was big, and there's no worse. There's not a more fireable offense in my mind than to come into Louisiana. Not even the program, bigger than the state, bigger than the people, bigger than everybody before you that built it. And you came in here and tried to tear it down, and you almost did in 4 years. Something that took 127 years to build. You come in here and you're like, let me knock this cobble out. Let me knock this out. And you started to tear down the infrastructure of the Coliseum. While people all around you are having success, you get excuse after excuse. Jay Johnson, 2 national championships. Kim Mulkey, national championship. Gymnastics, national championship. Track and field continues to win. You're the only one, brother. At some point, it ain't Brian Polian. At some point, it isn't whoever else is on your staff. It's not Matt House.
Right.
Whenever you start to look around and you start replacing, it's not the players. You start to look around and you see, damn, fix that for you. Scott Woodbridge fixed that for you. Brought Austin Thomas back for you. Hey, you should probably hire Frank Wilson, let him recruit New Orleans. Fix that for you. Hey, you need your $100 million man? Why don't you prove it? Can't do it, so I'll cover up every mistake that, yeah, sure. At some point it is on Scott. You misevaluated it because you thought he would care. He doesn't, and didn't, and never did. And even at the end, whenever it came down to, hey, I need better players. We even did that for you. And then now look at you now. Can't even get to fucking November. Good. See ya. Learn how to park. It's just an absolute failure on every front, and I'm jealous. I know bullshit because I spew it. And whenever I see it, I know it.
Not right now, though.
No, but this is what happens when you get caught.
Right.
You keep stealing, at some point the handcuffs are coming. And that's exactly what happened. He was backed into a corner. Who you going to squeal on? Nobody. Because you already did it. You cut everybody out from your corner.
Well, it's not even
You're
that
the only one left.
It's not even that he made bad decisions. I know you're going to agree with this, but it's because he cussed out Cobble. He slammed his fist on the table. Then
It was all a
8-4.
show.
Right.
It was all like, and then the show he put on at practice this year with yelling at the players because that we criticized him for not being at practice last year. So he's at practice this year and he's yelling at all the players. He's yelling at coaches, and he gets burned for it. And he deserved every bit of this.
Nope. The only cool thing he ever did was eat a cheese it off the ground. That was the most human moment of him, and it was to embarrass somebody else. Like, he's a bully. And now, when you're a bully, sometimes the bully gets bullied. He got rocked. And you'll never coach again. Nobody will hire you. You are done in this profession. All of your wins, you'll never be remembered for anything. Except for the fact that you got your fucking job taken from you at LSU when you should be a national champion. You had a Heisman-winning quarterback. You had everything you've ever needed, and you still couldn't do it. You're a fucking loser.
It was 1,000% the move that had to be made.
Thank God. Had to be made. And thank you, A&M.
Yeah, no.
The worst win you could ever have.
It was a wake-up call, and that a move that needed to be made. The conversation started to happen after the fact, and we were all pretty sure changes were going to come. And the reason why this change had to come was it saves the buyouts on the assistant is one of the bigger reasons. If you fire Brian Kelly first, that's the only buyout that you have to pay. The assistants that are let go after the fact, you don't have to cover those buyouts, because they were brought in under Brian Kelly, so they're a part of his staff. And so the move needed to be made in this order. The head man had to go, which all in all, in turn, was what needed to happen, because that man was the problem. Every other option was exhausted. Oh, it's the defensive staff. Here's a whole new one. It seemed like every piece of the puzzle was put together besides one. And he was close to almost finding a way to stick around. But the firing of Brian Kelly was first,
Say it
because
again.
it saved the buyouts on the other assistants. And so with that, you almost save money on this front by getting rid of the $50 million man first.
LSU would have paid, and the funny thing is, once people have come to realize that it's $50 million, it all became, it's too much money, it's too much money, it's too much money. This is what happens when you poke the bear. And I've said it continuously, and I'll say it again. You piss LSU enough, you piss LSU off enough, you piss Louisiana off enough, they'll find the money. You can't insult, you can't, finally, the thing that he never understood is the thing that bit him in the ass. These people don't play with this shit.
No,
he did. He treated it as a hobby.
Right. LSU football, and I'll tell you what it isn't, is a hobby for the state of Louisiana. LSU football is the state of Louisiana. The governor of the state is in the meeting room with the head coach.
That's why they were able to pile the money together.
Making the decision. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
It was a move that was made by the state of Louisiana. That's how important this job is, and that shows you the outright disrespect that Brian Kelly had for the state and for the school. And Brian Kelly, the $50 million man, they're negotiating that buyout. It's not going to be no $50 million. He's not going to walk off with $50 million. When you hear the reports of negotiating the buyout, that's because LSU and drop that number. Helps make the move a whole lot simpler when you're able to drop that number from $50 million. Brian Kelly is out as the head football coach,
and somehow he was the most surprised man in the room.
That is how cocky that man is. That he thinks still. I guarantee you, he's still on some sort of high horse.
Double down.
Probably pushing back, saying, no. Y'all aren't dropping my buyout. I deserve my 50. Because that's how cocky this man is. He came in here the first time he talked to the LSU fans, all my wins on the microphone, like Lloyd said. All my wins.
I haven't got all my wins
yet. I haven't
yet.
won all my games yet. Brian, this isn't about you. And you just found out 3.5 years into your tenure when you said, like Lloyd said, there's so many watermarks going down, but really just
judge me on year 3.
From the judge me on year 3 to the I'm keeping receipts to the this is the best roster I've ever had. So you're spoiled to now goodbye. It's over. It's done. And I tell you what, I really like the points that Josh Pate made when he was doing his show last night. Brian Kelly 1,000% disrespected this job, disrespected LSU, disrespected the state of Louisiana, and disrespected each and every person that bought a ticket, that turned the game on, or just lives here. Because he never once put in the effort to win at LSU. And that shows you how good of a gig this is, that you can still go 10-3 and 9-4 with a coach that doesn't care and isn't trying. That's going out and getting his mail at noon on a game day, not in the facility. That's out on the beach and golfing during recruiting season and transfer port. A coach that's completely and entirely checked out. LSU still made an SEC championship game, had a Heisman-winning quarterback, and won 9 games last year.
Doesn't deserve credit for anything.
It's all in spite of that man.
And that's the other part of this. Look, I understand when it's happening and the season's on and you want to be able to support your guy, but when he's not your guy, when he's not the right man for the job, you have to be able to call it out. And we tried to show you the tea leaves of what was happening, and we got laughed at or told, you don't know what's going on. These reports are reports because they're true. He wasn't around the facility. He's checking his mail at 1 o'clock on a game day. Like, this man had no interest in winning for LSU or for even at this point for himself. He was trying to get bought out. He didn't. It was never a fit. It was never going to work. And Josh Pate just said what we've been saying for 4 years. it's an insult to the state, to the people, to the brand, to the colors, to the people that played, to the players before you, and the players that were under you. And at some point, you just have to realize that, like, it can't be this many things and it be untrue.
Well, and
from week one.
You want to know how much disrespect it was to the state? Guess where that meeting was yesterday, where all this went down? It was at the governor's mansion. That shows you, it's literally the state of Louisiana saying, no, this is done. The state of Louisiana could not bear to have this man in charge for another minute.
What's the saying? Keep politics out of sports?
Not in Louisiana. That does not.
That's never been the case here.
How much it means to the state of Louisiana to get this man out of here.
Yeah,
we're going to put together the powers that be at the governor's mansion to get this guy out of here. We're gonna find a way to get Brian Kelly out of here because the state can't bear to have him around any longer. And he packed his bags and got in his car at 5 a.m. this morning.
What bag? The bags have been packed, brother.
What?
He's already got a go bag. That shit's easy. He was leaving this week regardless for the bye week.
He was going to drop the key off.
Yeah.
In the office.
He looked like Jamal Adams. Like, Joe, it still works. Like, he didn't even know how to do it. He had to act like, let me in. Like, okay, yeah, we'll let you in for 6 minutes. Get out. Go. And that's the last time he'll be in that facility, and thank God. Because you could see by just the way in which he operated that was just a perfect encapsulation of who Brian Kelly is. Like, oh, go on to the next. I'm going to park like an asshole. I'm going to leave like an asshole in my new car, whatever. But it's just like the perfect good riddance. You don't get to leave in the night to go somewhere else. You're actually getting fired in the night. Right. Oh, and guess what? We're going to call you back in the morning. Come back. Ugh. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. It's the way it works when you work.
Yeah.
And that I was funny enough talking to, it was my off day, Thursday.
Uh-huh.
I was with Chris Phillips and Mikey playing a little bit of golf, showing around, U Club, as it were. And that's right. And we were having a conversation like, you know what the saddest part about all of this is? It's like, I wake up earlier than he does. And Chris is like, you? I was like, I'm up at 5:30 every morning. He's like, you think Brian Kelly is? He's like, that is sad. Because I can't say that about Jay Johnson.
No.
I can't say that about Kim Mulkey.
Johnson sleeps at the facility.
Yeah, I don't think he has yet slept.
Right.
I've never seen it. I need evidence. And even he checked out. Like, I don't think I want to be here. And that was the best.
He left before the fourth quarter.
That was the best part about it.
Can't stand to watch it.
While he was there, LSU was playing expired. And then, I wonder what happened. But that man, it's the worst and best thing that could have happened to LSU and Brian Kelly is you had an absolute model of what success looks like. And at some point, they were going to start comparing the two. Why are you coming here, somebody that was relatively unknown? Yeah, you won on the West Coast at Arizona. And then you're the hire that Scott Woodward made, and everybody was like, oh, go get the biggest name you can get. You find a Jay Johnson, and then from day one, it has looked starkly different than Brian Kelly. Immediately comes in, works, wins, works. That's what success looks like. That's what it takes to win. And he had a cushier job than maybe if anybody could rest on the laurels of LSU, it's LSU baseball. But what did he do? He ingratiated himself into the LSU program, into Skip Bertman, into what the legacy and the lore of the program was, and he understood LSU.
Right.
And that's all we ask you to do. You don't even have to do as much as Jay's doing. Les somehow figured it out.
And that's
Coach
why,
O was you're a godson.
Yeah,
we still like him, and he threw it in the shitter.
And that's why the word when the term fit is thrown around, it doesn't have to do with the fact that they're not from Louisiana or not from the South. It comes down to the fact that LSU football had a blueprint that has worked for 20 years, for 2 decades. LSU had a blueprint that has led to 3 national championships. Under coaches that, from a coaching standpoint, are not as successful or as good of coaches as Brian Kelly was before he got here. Les Miles and Coach O were not these superstar hires when they came in. Brian Kelly was a big name, winningest active head football coach when he was brought in. But he disrespected the job. He never once respected the gig because there was a cheat sheet, a cheat code that was laid out in front of Brian Kelly. And I will give him his credit for getting the program back to being competitive when he first got here. At least setting somewhat of a standard to get you from 39 scholarship players to fielding a team and making an SEC championship game. But that should be the beginning, and it should have gone up from there, and it didn't, and that is 1,000% disrespect and irresponsibility from a coaching standpoint.
But it also shows you how easy it can be.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. The blueprint is laid out, and Brian Kelly never once looked at it. The blueprint that Nick Saban laid out for the LSU job, which in turn has made the LSU job one of the best in the sport, if not the best. That blueprint was used by Les Miles to win a national championship and to make another. It was used by Ed Orgeron to win a national championship. Brian Kelly never used it. He thought the BK blueprint was going to lead the way, bringing in guys like Brian Polian and Matt House was going to get the job done. And it didn't. The Brian Kelly blueprint is not bigger than the LSU blueprint. You know how I know that? The LSU blueprint has won 3 national championships. The BK blueprint. And if he would have sat back and followed the LSU blueprint and actually been bought in and cared about his job, he'd still have a job right now, and he'd probably have a ring. But instead, he thought he was bigger than LSU football, and in turn, the state of Louisiana said it was time to cut a check and get him up out of here. It had to happen. Had to happen. And we could make a list. I could put a graphic together of all the things, all the watermarks. None are bigger than after an ugly win against Florida in week 3 of this football season, the man sat at the podium and said, "You're spoiled." To every single person in that room that watched it on YouTube, every single LSU fan and citizen of the state of Louisiana was spoiled because they expect more than what BK was doing. You know how spoiled we are, Brian? You're fired. You're gone. That's how spoiled we are. Because we know what winning looks like, and it's not you.
And you don't.
It's not you. The guys, the guys that you weren't letting back in the facility, and the guys like Braden Fajoko that were getting online and talking and getting on tire droppings and dropping bombs, guess what he's got on his finger? A ring. What you got, BK? Nothing. Ain't got nothing to show for it. Congratulations, you're a Hall of Fame coach. Winningest head coach that's active.
Not
no
active.
longer active, coach. You're gone.
So now
fired.
you can't even put that on the wall.
LSU had to move on, and they did. And in turn, Frank Wilson is now the interim head football coach. And I tell you what, this program is in a better spot right now than it was 24 hours ago. Because now the program is in the hands of Frank Wilson and Austin Thomas. There's very few people that I trust more than those guys to handle the program right now in its current standing. And the reason why is Caldwell put it out. What was one of the knocks against BK? Didn't know the players' names. What numbers Trey'Dez Green? Who's number 14? What's the, You know what? I can guarantee you Frank knows the name of every single player on that roster. You know why? Because he did the work to get them there. That's why I know it's in a better spot, because Frank Wilson knows the name of, like Caldwell said, he knows the name of every player and probably their parents too, because he did the work to get them there. Frank Wilson has been selling the LSU football program for decades. Frank Wilson is an LSU football legend. And there are few people I trust to hold the rope right now more than him and Austin Thomas in the way they're going to control this thing. And you know what BK didn't like? When BK first got here, who was his recruiting coordinator? Was it Frank Wilson, the guy that's got Tyrann Mathieu and Leonard Fournette to come to LSU football? Nope. I'm not going to make him my recruiting coordinator. You know what? I'm going to bring Brian Polian down. And we're going to go get players from Minnesota and Maine and New Rhode Island and Delaware and New Jersey. I'm not gonna make my recruiting coordinator Frank Wilson. No, what was Frank Wilson? You know what Frank Wilson's done, Coach? A lot more than you.
Well,
And BK disrespects once again, disrespecting the blueprint, because if there's a big piece of the blueprint, it's Frank Wilson. And it is a beautiful moment to see BK kick to the curb and Frank Wilson gets the nod of interim head football coach, because he is an embodiment of LSU, because he has helped build the golden era of LSU football. And there are few people I trust more than Frank Wilson and Austin Thomas. And BK, I wouldn't be surprised if BK was looking at the staff changes saying, get rid of Frank, because he knew that there's one person on his staff that LSU is going to pick over him, and that's Frank Wilson. BK's gone. Frank Wilson is your interim head football coach. He will hold the rope for whatever's next for LSU football. And I've got, I think, a pretty good idea of where this is headed. I think it's a one-man list. There's one name on the list for LSU football. There were a lot of things that played into making the move now, but I think the biggest thing was you can't miss your shot. In my opinion, my expectation is that LSU's looking this as a Lane Kiffin or bust scenario. Because you make the move now so you don't miss out on that. If you wait and Florida makes the move and Florida gets Lane and you're sitting there, you're empty-handed, you make the move now so that you're right in the mix. In my opinion, my expectation is that this is a Lane Kiffin or bust scenario. That LSU football made the move now to get themselves squarely in the position to go get Lane Kiffin. And I'm not saying that there aren't other names that can get the nod and that I won't be happy with. In my opinion, my expectation is that it's Lane Kiffin or bust.
And